Cintamani. As I said, was written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he's describing a conversation which took place between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Haridas Thakur. Lord Chaitanya would arrange to bring out a particular topic with different devotees, like in meeting with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he explained elaborately about liberation, what is actual liberation. And then with Ramananda Roy and Rupa Goswami, he explained more about rasa. So with Haridas Thakur, the topic was naturally the holy name of the Lord. Because Haridas Thakur, his life is chanting the holy name. He just lives to chant the holy name. We're told Haridas chanted 3 lakh names every day, which is a lot of rounds to chant, right? No, with 192 rounds, or 3 times 64. 64 rounds is 1 lakh names. So 3 lakh names is 3 times 64. And Haridas was chanting every day up until his old age, when he was in Jagannath Puri, and he fell at Lord Chaitanya's feet and said that I'm in disease condition because I'm not able to complete my round. So he'd been chanting so much. Lord Chaitanya was so happy with him that he gave him the position of Namacharya. So Lord Chaitanya met with Haridas Thakur, and Lord Chaitanya he put questions to Haridas. It's like when Lord Chaitanya met with Ramananda Rai, he would ask Ramananda Rai questions. And Ramananda Rai would protest. He'd say, you're the sannyasi, you're the brahmana, I should be asking you questions. Why are you asking me? But Lord Chaitanya said, no. He said, Kiba vipra kiba nasi sudra keminai ye Krishna tattvavid se guru hai. That anybody, whatever position they're in, they may be a vipra, a learned brahmana, or kiba vipra kiba nasi, or a renunciate, or a Sudra, a worker, laborer type of person, but if they know the science of Krishna, if they know Krishna Tattva, then they're the spiritual teacher. So here we have Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, of course, is from a Mohammedan family, but he's fully enlightened in the topics of the holy name. And Lord Chaitanya wants to hear from him about the holy name. So this book is discussing the holy name. And here you can see the key verse to the holy name. This is stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Madhya Lila, chapter 17. It's quoted from Padma Purana, but it describes the full nature of the name. Lord Chaitanya himself actually quoted this verse when Lord Chaitanya was discussing with Lord Chaitanya was discussing with Tapana Mishra and Chandrasekhar in Benares, because in Benares everyone was, in Benares, you go to Benares, it's all Mayavada and Buddhists, and there's not many Vaishnavas there in Benares. Prabhupada says Benares is not really a place for the devotees. People there are not much devotional, they're more Shakti. Lord Shiva is very prominent the worship of Lord Shiva. And the Buddhists are also there. Anyway, Lord Chaitanya was there in Benares, and Lord Chaitanya was chanting and dancing in Benares, and he got criticized naturally, just like Hare Krishna devotees, we get criticized sometimes that we're just sentimentalists, we just sing and dance. And of course, Lord Chaitanya, he's the Supreme Lord, and when he met with the Mayavadi sannyasis, then he revealed to them that he actually knew everything about Vedanta. But he was being very humble. And he said, my Guru Maharaj told me I cannot understand Vedanta and I should just chant the holy name. So Lord Chaitanya told him, he told Tapana Mishra and Chandrasekhar, the Mayavadis, they cannot chant the name of Krishna. And he said, they will say the name Chaitanya, and they may say the name Atma, they may say about Brahman, but they will not say the holy name of Krishna. And so they're not fortunate. Their tongues are contaminated. We could say they have jaundice, right? Rupa Goswami calls it jaundice of avidya. They don't like to chant the holy name. Just like we were doing kirtan one time in Taiwan. Taiwan is a Buddhist country, and there were some Buddhist monks, and we were doing kirtan, and the Buddhist monks, they came and they sat down, and they like to sit and, how they like to do their meditation. So they sat down, we were chanting, and they were enjoying, they liked the kirtan. And so we said, we were like a bit energy, but they were, they're not allowed to show any emotion. They shouldn't even smile, you shouldn't enjoy, because the Buddhist philosophy doesn't allow that, especially monks. Buddhist monks, they're meant to be detached from all kinds of material pleasure. So they could not join. They liked the kirtan, but they didn't chant. They wouldn't join in the kirtan. So here, in this verse from Padma Purana, it stated Nam Cintamani Krishna. The holy name is Cintamani. It means it's a wish-fulfilling touchstone, can fulfill all of our material desires, both materially and spiritually. So Cintamani is the most precious of all stones. So the holy name is likened to Cintamani. And we're also told that the name of Krishna fulfills all desires like Cintamani. It is the very form of Krishna. Yeah, it's the very form of Krishna. One time there was this one sannyasi, he was giving a talk. Prabhupada had asked him to speak. It was a time of initiation, and Prabhupada wanted the sannyasi to speak about the holy name. So he was saying, at one point he said in the lecture, Krishna is in his name. And Prabhupada was sitting listening, and Prabhupada immediately interrupted him and said, Krishna is his name. If you say Krishna is in his name, then it's different. But if you think Krishna is his name, then you can understand the nature of the holy name. So the holy name of Krishna is not different from Lord Krishna himself, the person. That is mentioned here in this verse. That it is the very form of Krishna, it is full of consciousness and ras. It is complete, pure, and eternally liberated. It is because of the What is it?
Difference.
Huh?
Difference.
Non-difference of the name. This is because of the non-difference of the name and Krishna. So non-different. Binat nam nama namino. The name of Krishna not different from Krishna the person. So this is the transcendental nature of Lord Krishna's name. Of course, we're talking about the pure name, right? When we chant, we want to chant Shuddhanam. We want to chant without offense. So this verse is describing Shuddhanam, the pure name, qualities in the chanting of the holy name. We will be talking more about that as we go on. Anyway, this is the introductory verse to the subject. And the book then continues to begin, first of all, explaining about the Lord's energies, how Lord Krishna has different energies. He is the supreme, independent, conscious entity, and he has different energies. We want to understand these things. This is the first stage of devotional service, Sambandha Gyan. We want to chant properly. We should have some Sambandha Gyan. You can chant without knowing anything about the holy name, and you can get great benefit, but you'll get even more benefit if you have some knowledge, if you understand, if we have this Sambandha Gyan. Just like Ramanujacharya, right? We know about Ramanujacharya, that he went to his guru, and his guru gave him mantra. He went to his guru 17 times. I was in South India, we went to different holy places, Divya Tirthas, some of the places where Ramanuja. We went to this place where Ramanuja where his guru lived. And then there's a temple there where Ramanuja had gone to the temple and called out to everyone, if you chant this mantra, you'll be liberated. So they say Ramanuja went to his guru 17 times to learn about the mantra. It was not just you get the mantra and you chant the mantra. You have to learn about the mantra also. We chant the holy name, we chant also Gayatri mantra. And I remember when we first chanted Gayatri mantra, I was initiated in 1971. You were not here, Prabhu. You were in some other body, some other place. But then, in those days, we got Gayatri mantra. We'd simply hear Prabhupada chant the mantra. We had no idea what the mantra meant, really, because, we didn't know Sanskrit, and we just didn't really have any real introduction to the Gayatri mantra. Nowadays, it's much better. Our movement is, we've progressed. We've come a long way from those days. But anyway, Sambandha Gyan, we need to hear, we need to learn some things about the nature of Lord Krishna. If we can understand more about Lord Krishna, then we can have more feeling for the holy name. So Lord Krishna is the supreme, independent, conscious entity. We are all dependent entities. We are his energy. And we see there's different energies, the antaranga, or the chit shakti, which is the spiritual potency of Lord Krishna. And from the spiritual potency comes the holy dham. The holy dham is not an ordinary place. Srila Prabhupada used to say, you don't go to the dham just by buying a ticket. You have to change the consciousness to enter into the dham. because the holy Dham it's spiritual. We want to see the holy Dham, we have to develop spiritual vision. And the same way with the holy name. Chanting of the holy name is spiritual. Nam Cintamani Krishna. It's spiritual. It's not material name. We can chant Mr. John, Mr. John, Mr. John, but Mr. John, where is he? But when you chant Krishna's name, Lord Krishna, we're calling to Krishna himself. Krishna is immediately present by the name. If we chant the name without offense, the pure holy name is spiritual. And so therefore the name is spiritual, the Dham is also spiritual, and the form of Krishna is also spiritual. Lord Krishna's body never ages. Lord Krishna's body is not subject to any kind of miseries of the material world. And then Guna, his qualities, and Lila, his pastimes, are all not of the material world. Lord Krishna is transcendental to the material energy, and his pastimes are also transcendental. They're all manifestations of the spiritual world. Lord Krishna himself, he's showing the pastimes of the spiritual world. Lord Rama shows us the perfect king, but Lord Krishna, he's showing us the spiritual world in his pastime. The Rasa Leela, for example, is a pastime of the spiritual world. So in this way we understand something of Antaranga Shakti, the spiritual potency. And then we have the Tatastha Shakti, the marginal energy, the Jiva, dependent, conscious entity. Not independent, but dependent. But at the same time, we are conscious. Just as the Lord is supremely conscious, we are also conscious entities. So we are one with Krishna, at the same time we are different from Krishna. We are Krishna's Shakti, Tatastha Shakti. So, same quality as Chit Shakti, but Anu, we're a particle. We're tiny, Anu, very small. And there are an infinite number of jivas, of living entities. And we all have free will. We have free will. We have some independence. And we were saying we are not independent, we are dependent, but we have free will. Our free will is where we're going to pose. Are we going to pose ourselves with Krishna or with the material energy? Are we going to take shelter of the spiritual energy or the material energy? We have that freedom of choice. It's up to every living entity to make proper use of their free will. And then the nature of the jiva also, we have the capacity for unlimited bliss. Now we all want unlimited bliss, right? That sounds nice, doesn't it? Something to look forward to, unlimited bliss. Where to get it? How? Well, that's the question. Are we looking for the unlimited bliss in the material world? You go to the disco or something, you go to the restaurant or whatever you do for your unlimited bliss, where to find the bliss? We're all looking for that kind of bliss. We have to know that there's a proper place to get unlimited bliss. And that comes, of course, by coming to the spiritual platform. If we depend on the material body for unlimited bliss, then we'll have a problem. You get some bliss, but not much. It's more of a flickering bliss. It's not eternal happiness. You get some illusion of happiness in the material world. But we want to have unlimited bliss. And it shouldn't end. And we have to know where to find that. So we have that free will. We can reside either in the material or the spiritual world. Then that's our choice. You want Krishna? We surrender to Krishna. If we don't surrender to Krishna, then we come to the material world. In the material world, we're also controlled. Either we're controlled by Krishna or we're controlled by the material world in the form of Maya, the illusion of material life. In the material world, we're controlled by the gunas, the three modes of nature. They're controlling us, dictating us. Sometimes people say, I like to be free. I like to eat whatever I like. You Hare Krishna people, you can't eat whatever you like. You can't eat this, you can't eat that. I like to be free. I can eat whatever I like. People say like that, And what do they eat? Oh my goodness. We don't want to mention all the things, horrible things. And they're thinking they're free. They don't realize they're being controlled by the material energy. It's not really freedom, but they're forced by the material nature to do certain things and to accept certain ways of living. So either we're under the control of the material energy or the spiritual energy. Lord Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanas tumam partha devim prakritim ashrita. That the great souls are under the protection of my divine energy. Devotees, Prabhupada would refer to the devotees as Mahatmas. And he said, because they've surrendered to Krishna, they're all under the protection of the divine energy. And they fully engage in devotional service. So this is our free will. Either we take shelter of the material energy or the spiritual energy. Our nature is tatastha. So we can reside in either place. Living in the material world, we accept a material body. And if we live with Krishna in the spiritual world, then we will get a spiritual body. We'll get the body appropriate to our environment. All right, so this tatastha, and then here we see the bahiranga shakti, the external energy. External energy, right? So it's described prakriti, dependent and unconscious. Of course, you could say living entities, we're also prakriti, but we are superior prakriti because we have consciousness. This is the inferior prakriti, meaning the elements of the material world. The table, the chair, they don't move independently. They have no consciousness. So the whole material world is prakriti, earth, water, fire, air, ether. It's mentioned here, 23 elements. So 23 elements mean the 5 elements of material nature, which I just named. And then you have the 5 sense objects. You have 5 working senses. You have 5 knowledge acquiring senses. And then you have the mind, the intelligence, and the ego. So 23 elements. They're unconscious. And 14 worlds. 14 worlds. Sometimes we'll talk about 3 worlds, heaven and hell, and earth in the middle. So 14 worlds, describing the different planetary systems within the universe. At the top you've got Brahmaloka, and then you've got places like Tapaloka, Mahaloka, Janaloka, and then you've got heaven, and then you've got Bhubarloka, and we're Bhumandala, and then below Bhumandala, then you've got the different hellish planets, the subterranean heavenly planets, different regions. So 14 different levels of planetary systems in the universe, all different kinds of Prakriti. Prakriti meaning Krishna's energy. So the Prakriti is all manifested from Krishna, created for some time, and then destroyed. It's temporary. It's not eternal. So taking shelter of the material nature will certainly bring problems. Ultimately, you have to become detached from it. So Prakriti is not our eternal nature. We're meant to actually live in the spiritual realm along with Krishna. But because of identification with the material world, we come into this world and we have to accept birth after birth, one body after another. That is the way of material life. All right, so here you can see summary of what we've been saying so far. Above everything, there is the Ishvara. There's the one Supreme Lord who is supremely conscious. And he has his different energies. There is the spiritual world and there is the material world. Living, and people, of course, will argue, they'll say, how do you know there's a spiritual world? Have you ever been there? Yes. In fact, we've all been there. Originally, we're all spiritual by nature, but we don't remember. That's the problem. There's a lot of things we don't remember. We don't remember our previous life. We don't remember how we've taken birth many different times. Lord Krishna had to even remind Arjuna about that in the Bhagavad Gita. When Lord Krishna was telling Arjuna how he'd spoken the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Vivishwan, Arjuna said, what? How could you speak to the sun god? You and I are the same age, Krishna. How could you speak to the sun god? The sun god's so much senior than you. But Lord Krishna told Arjuna, many, many births both you and I have had, oh Arjuna. I can remember, you don't. So we don't remember. We don't think about it. We focus everything on this one life. We're thinking this life. But this life is also, it's material. We're here in the material world. A material world means temporary place of birth and death. Not our real home. We can live here for some time, but we won't stay forever. So this is the way of the material world. So it is all Achit Shakti. But there's another world. There is the spiritual world. And we can go there. The living entity, the jiva, he has that choice. Being the marginal energy, he can choose. By our actions, by our activities, it will determine where we're going to live. We want to be conscious of these things. Right? So here you can see the jiva in the material world. Right? So we're talking about different ways in which we can approach to the spiritual world. We can enjoy the material world in peace. Do good karma. Somebody's pious. They can live comfortably in the material world. They're doing nicely. They're vegetarian. They don't do any sinful activities. So they live peacefully, and they're doing nice, pious activities, so they can enjoy the material world. But again, how long can you enjoy? Enjoy for some time. And then someone else becomes, after enjoying the material world for some time, living peacefully, you start to think about it. You start to think, I'm getting older. Where am I going to go from here? Just like, when we're coming, wherever you go today now in the car, everybody has a GPS, the GPS, and you use a GPS, you have to know where you want to go, right? The GPS doesn't tell you where to go. You have to know where you want to go. So similarly, here we are in the material world, and we have to be thinking about where we want to go from here. Sometimes we tell the story about Alice in Wonderland, interesting book. She came into the Wonderland, and then she met someone. She said, "Where do I go from here?" And I said, "Where do you want to go?" And she said, "Well, I don't really know." So he said, "Well, it doesn't matter which way you go, does it?" So if you don't really know where you want to go, it doesn't matter, You can stay. That's why we've been here so long. We're nityabada, eternally conditioned souls. We've been here a long time, and we've taken birth again. We didn't really know where we want to go. And we go up and down, and up and on that roller coaster, up and down, sometimes go up, sometimes we're a demigod, and maybe we go up to even higher planets and above heaven even. And we live there for some time, and then we come back down, come in the material world, and maybe we fall down even, go into the lower species of life. We've been here a long time, and we've experienced life in so many different realms. So people often become a little thoughtful about life. And the thoughtful person, then they think about liberation from the material world. I want to get out of this material world. I don't want to just stay here in the material world. So people may take to reading books, cultivating knowledge, gyan. They want to become philosophical, and they become great gyanis. Right? In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna described about 4 kinds of people who come to him for different reasons, why people come to him. Said they're all pious people. Chaturvida bhajantimam jnana sukritino Arjuna. Arto jignasur artati jnani cha paratashamba. Lord Krishna is saying 4 kinds of people with sukriti. They all have some sukriti. they've come to Krishna. But they come for different reasons. All right? Some people come in distress, a lot of distress in the world. When Prabhupada went to America, he was thinking, America was a rich country, but he saw so much distress, a lot of suffering. Even in America, people suffer more. They suffer more there than people here. But because there's more opulence there, there's opulence, the more people suffer. So material life means suffering. People are in distress. If they have sukriti, they take up Krishna consciousness. Some people come in search of wealth, and some people come out of curiosity, and some people come in search of knowledge. Now, Lord Krishna describes who is the best of the four, right? Not very hard to understand which one is the best. Which one is the best?
Jnana.
Yes, the one who comes for knowledge. He's considered the best. But then Lord Krishna says, after many births and deaths, Bahunam Gyanmanamanti Gyanavam Mamprapat. After many births and one is in knowledge, he surrenders to me. Such a soul is very rare. In other words, takes a long time. If you go by the path of Gyan, it will take a long time to become, and very rare people become Mahatma. Sa Mahatma Sadurlabha. So progress slowly and very rare, you succeed. That's the nature of Gyan. Some people, so not too many take to the path of Gyan actually, very rare. And some people do yoga. And nowadays people do yoga, very rare, they're thinking of liberation from the material world. But some yogis, some people do, even today. Kumbh Mela, you can go to Kumbh Mela and you'll see some of the different yogis come from the Himalayas. And Prabhupada said actually that some Kumbh Mela, there may be people coming from Himalayas that are a few hundred years old, and they come down every 12 years for the Kumbh Mela. So they're yogis. They want to get liberation from the material world. Maybe they're doing pranayama, controlling the breathing, like that. Again, very rare, very difficult for this age, and number of people who will succeed, not too many. We know from Ramayana, Vishwamitra had some difficult times. He got tested. Beautiful women came and allured him. It was not too easy. So to get liberation by yoga is also not very easy. But bhakti is there. It's actually an easy process. In the Bhagavad Gita says, Raja Vidya, Raja Guyam, Pavitram, Idam Uttamam, Pratyak Swavagamam Dharmi, Susukam Kartam Avyayam. This knowledge is the king of knowledge. It gives direct perception of the self by realization. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. The nature of bhakti, joyfully performed. Prabhupada said, this is a movement for recreation. He said, singing and dancing and taking prasadam. He said, this is just recreation only. And by this kind of activity, you can go back to the spiritual world. This is the power of bhakti, can take us to the spiritual world just by singing and dancing and taking prasadam. All right? So here you can see we've shown then the importance, the foundation for these different processes is faith. You have to have some faith. You want to go to the spiritual world? Everything begins by faith. Adau Shraddha, the verse is there by Rupa goes, in the beginning, you must have some faith. We have some faith. We chant Hare Krishna, we eat prasadam, we come and sit with the devotees and take part in some program. We have some faith. And that faith should increase as we go on. So the path of bhakti is described there. You can see 3 different levels. All right? We have, first of all, bhakti beginning with sadhana bhakti, meaning according to the rules and regulations, the regulated principles. We practice sadhana bhakti. And if we practice sadhana bhakti nicely, one day we will come to bhava bhakti. Bhava means devotional service in ecstasy. And bhava bhakti then continues to prema bhakti, love of God. And Mahaprabhu said, Prem punarto mahan. The goal of life is to develop love of God. Krishna Prem. You want Krishna Prem? Who wants Krishna Prem? Yes, we would all like to get Krishna Prem. Mahaprabhu was giving Krishna Prem even to the animals. In Jharkhand, he was giving to the animals there. Even the ferocious beasts like the tigers, they all became gentle and they were embracing the deer. Usually they'd be eating the deers, but they were, by Mahaprabhu's influence, they were all transformed and they all became gentle. So that is the nature of bhakti. So you can see how the jiva can be liberated from the material world through different processes. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga. Bhagavad Gita describes this progression of the different yogas, the yoga ladder. And at the top of the yoga ladder, of course, is bhakti. So we don't waste our time in going up the stairs. We take the elevator. Somebody lives on the 20th floor. You don't want to be walking up the stairs. You take the elevator up. So bhakti is the elevator. Quickly we come to the highest level of yoga. And coming to the topmost level of bhakti, it does not mean that we have neglected these other processes, but one who is doing bhakti, he's also a karma yogi, he's a jnana yogi, he's a dhyana yogi. He's doing all of these things. It's all coming there in bhakti. You do bhakti, karma yoga means detached from the work. You perform your duty in a detached manner. So one who does bhakti yoga is also detached from everything. He's working in a detached way. Right? We do our duties. We're detached. We're doing it for Krishna. And then jnana yoga, we also know something. We're reading Bhagavad Gita. We're reading Srimad Bhagavatam. We've heard so many lectures. We have some knowledge. We may not be great jnanis, but we know something, right? One man came for initiation. Prabhupada said, you want initiation, you have to answer questions. He said, who are you? He said, I'm a soul. Right. And who's God? Krishna's God. Right. Okay, you can be initiated. You're a great jnani. You know, you're not the body, you're a soul, and Krishna's God. Very good. You're the greatest jnani. Like, so devotees, we're also jnana yogis, and we're also jnana yogis, we're always remembering Krishna, because we're always chanting the holy name. Everything is dedicated to Krishna. So bhakti yoga includes all of these other things. And there are different levels of bhakti yoga, right? Sadhana, bhava, and prema. So these things will come one after another. We have devotees also. And of course, devotees don't reveal themselves. Nature of devotees are, they're very humble, and they always speak of themselves as very fallen. Just like Narottam Das Thakur, he was such a great devotee. Narottam Das Thakur, he gave up his body in the Ganga. He was taking bath, and his body turned to milk in the Ganga. But Narottam Das Thakur, he says, I'm very fallen. You have come, he was praying to Lord Chaitanya that you've come to deliver the fallen souls. I'm the most fallen. My claim is first. You should deliver me. Right? So this is the humility of the devotee. Nowadays you get people that are claiming Paramahamsa and this and that, so many things. But genuine devotee will, Das Anudas, the servant of the servant. All right? So, we want to understand the importance of the holy name. You do these different kinds of devotion, you practice bhakti yoga, sadhana bhakti, we have to chant the holy name. You come to bhava bhakti, you still have to chant the holy name. And prema bhakti, you still chant the holy name. There's no time when you give up chanting the holy name. And you go to the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there's always a chanting of the holy name. So the holy name, we have to develop our taste for the chanting of the holy name. It's very important for our Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada came to the Western world to give the holy name, to teach us to chant the holy name. When the Achyutananda Swami, he wrote the Vaishnava songbook, he said, Prabhupada said, I only taught people to chant Hare Krishna. He said, Achyutananda has introduced all these Vaishnava bhajans. Of course, Prabhupada also liked to sing the Vaishnava bhajans, but mainly his focus was on the holy name, chanting the holy name. So try to appreciate the importance, how much the holy name relates to us, how it's so important for us to develop this attraction, this taste for the chanting of the holy name. Lord Chaitanya asked Haridas Thakur, how can all living entities in the material world be delivered? And Haridas Thakur replied, the chanting of the holy name is beneficial for all living entities. We give the holy name. People want charity. They're like, you Hare Krishna people, you should give some charity. Yes, we're giving. Here, the holy name. Take the holy name. It's the greatest charity. We go everywhere giving the holy name, chanting. And definitely it creates an auspicious atmosphere, just the chanting of the holy name. One time the one devotee was left in Hong Kong, and he was all alone. There was nobody there. There were no devotees, and he was there in Hong Kong, and he wrote to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, just stay there and chant Hare Krishna. And said, nobody's coming to the temple, Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, it doesn't matter. You just stay there and chant Hare Krishna. He said, it will make an auspicious situation. He said, just by chanting, one person chanting the holy name, it can create auspiciousness in an entire city of people. So the chanting of the holy name is so powerful. We want to understand how important this holy name is. And we want to develop our faith and attachment to chanting the holy name. So this way, Lord Chaitanya and Haridas Thakur are discussing, right? So, Sandini Shakti. The Sandini Shakti, the potency of the Lord Krishna in the spiritual world. From his Sandini Shakti, then the different features of the Lord come. His name, his activities, his form, his qualities. All right, Nam, Guna, Rupa, Lila. They're all coming from this Sandini Shakti, which is the potency of the Lord. So they're all fully spiritual. The Lord, of course, has many different forms. He's called Anantarup. So many different forms. We see there's a two-armed form. We know Shyamsundar Krishna with 2 arms. Then there's Vasudeva Krishna with 4 arms. And then you have the Vishwarup with many arms. So the Lord has many different forms. And he has many different names also. We will talk more about the names of the Lord. His qualities are unlimited. In the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami, Prabhupada summarized Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Rupa Goswami had listed 64 different qualities of Lord Krishna. And he said, actually, his qualities are unlimited. Lord Ananta Shesha is describing the qualities of Lord Krishna since the beginning of time. And Lord Ananta Shesha has countless numbers of mouths. And each of the mouths of Ananta Shesha are describing different qualities of the Lord. And they've been describing since time immemorial, since the beginning of the creation. And they have never exhausted the qualities of the Lord. So this is the nature of the Lord, that his qualities are unlimited. But Rupa Goswami picked out 64 of his qualities. And he said, Lord Vishnu, in he will have only 60, and Lord Shiva, he will have only 55, and living entities like Lord Brahma, they will have only 50 of the 64 qualities. So in this way, he highlights how Lord Krishna is the supreme form of the Godhead. Some people, they think Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu. But actually, Lord Krishna is the Swayam Bhagavan. He's the original form. And by showing that certain features of the Lord are unique to Krishna, it shows his supreme position over even Lord Vishnu and Lord Rama. Now Lord Rama is very popular these days, with the Ayodhya temple. And so many people are reading Ramayana again, become very fashionable. But still, Lord Rama is Maryada avatar. He is not the Swayam Bhagavan. But Lord Krishna is the original Swayam Bhagavan, and Lord Rama is one of his forms. So in this way we understand some more things about the nature of Lord Krishna. So the potency of the name can be understood by understanding these different features of the Lord. His forms, his qualities, his activities. Lord Krishna's activities are all transcendental, bewildering to the minds of the materialists. People consider, oh, Krishna, he's just some lusty cowherd boy. They don't understand the actual transcendental position of Lord Krishna. They take him to be something material. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the foolish mock at me, descending amongst them like a human being. They do not know my transcendental nature and supreme dominion over all that be. So Lord Krishna is describing his transcendental quality. All right, so we can realize Lord Krishna through his name. We have to understand. Chanting of the name will help us to understand more of the form and the qualities and the pastimes of the Lord. These things are all there within the holy name. And when we chant the holy name, we should learn to associate with Lord Krishna in his different forms. How he has so many different forms and different names, how he's performing wonderful activities. And some devotees, when they're chanting the holy name, they will actually take part in the activities of the Lord. They will enter into the Lord's pastime. It is all possible through the chanting of the holy name. Okay, so here you can see the beautiful form of Lord Krishna. Okay, so different types of names. We said the name of Lord Krishna has different names. There is primary names, and there are also secondary names. Primary names are more in relation to the pastimes of the Lord. Primary names of the Lord are names like Govinda, Krishna, and then Radha and Gopi Jana Ballabha. These are all kind of primary names of Lord Krishna, very much in relation to the Lord's pastimes. And by chanting primary names, the result is you can come to prema easily. On the other hand, there are secondary names. Secondary names are names like Paramatma, or Bhagavan, or Brahman. So they describe some of the material facilities, material functions of the Lord. And they can result in material elevation and ultimately even liberation, but not prema. So it's important for us to develop a relationship for the Lord with his primary name. People so often challenge why we are only chanting Hare Krishna, why you only chant Hare Krishna mantra, you should chant other names. So, yes, we can chant other names, but we like to focus on the pastimes of the Lord. Just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given us beautiful songs like Nama Kirtan. You know that song? Jasumati Nandana Prajaparanakara Gokula Ranjana Kahana. Like that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur very expertly composed songs with beautiful names of Lord Krishna for us to sing. If you go to our Vrindavan temple, you know, in the Vrindavan temple every morning, they have, first of all, Arti at Prabhupada's Samadhi at 4:15. So at Prabhupada's Samadhi, they will sing the Guru Vastikam. And so then they go into the temple, because the Arti at the Samadhi just takes like 10 minutes or so. And then after the Arti, then they will go into the temple to greet Krishna Balaram. And they've just sang Guru Vastikam, so they won't sing the Guru Vastikam again, because they just sang it at the Samadhi. So then they sing Vibhavari Shesha. Yeah, they sing. And Vibhavari Shesha is all beautiful names of Lord Krishna, different avatars and pastimes. So it's very nice to chant the different names of the Lord, but particularly we give greatest emphasis to the chanting of Lord Krishna's name. We're told also how Lord Shiva told his wife Parvati not to chant Vishnu Sahasranam. Rame Rame Namo Rame Sahasranama Bistuyam Sri Ramanama Varanini. I was in Hatiram Swami's ashram in Tirupati some years ago. So they're all devotees of Lord Rama there. And the man's mobile phone rang, and you know, usually when our mobile phones go, we will hear the Maha Mantra. So when his mobile phone went, it said, Rame, Rama. It quoted, you know, he had the verse there on his mobile phone, that the holy name of Lord Ram is equal to 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. So yeah, chanting the names is good, but different potencies in different names. And we're also told that 3 names of Lord Rama is equal to 1 name of Lord Krishna. And of course, devotees, they had discussions about who is meant when we chant Rama Rama, Hari Hari. This Rama Rama, one devotee was saying this is Lord Ramachandra, but another devotee was saying, no, this is Balarama. And so they went to Srila Prabhupada with the argument. And the devotee said, isn't it when we chant Hari Rama, Rama Rama, this Rama means Balarama, Prabhupada? And Prabhupada said, yes, you're right. And the other devotee said, but Prabhupada, doesn't this mean Lord Ramachandra? And Prabhupada said, yes, you're right. And they we're both right? And Prabhupada said, yes, you're both right. Rama can mean Lord Ramachandra, it can mean also Balarama. And then some years ago, Gaur Govinda Maharaj came along and quoted Jiva Goswami and told us that actually this Rama is actually Krishna. That it's Krishna who's actually Lord Rama, who's the enjoyer of all, the reservoir of all pleasure. And so it's up to the individual. When we're chanting, who are you chanting to? Are you chanting to Lord Ramachandra? Are you chanting to Balarama? Or are you chanting to Lord Krishna? It's up to each of us to choose, you know, which is our deity. Who are you worshipping? Somebody likes to worship Lord Nrsingadev. Somebody likes to worship Lord Varaha. Some people like to worship Lakshmi Narayan. Some people like to worship Sita Rama. And some people will worship Radha Krishna. It's up to every individual. According to your taste, according to your own mood of devotion. It's not wrong. Every individual has free will. However, we're discouraged from chanting secondary names. Like if you just chant Brahman or Paramatma, like that, then this is some name of the material world, material function. All right? So you can see different destinations. One, if you chant the primary name, you go to Goloka and you can be with Krishna in Goloka. And if you're chanting some secondary name, then you may get impersonal liberation and you enter into the Brahman, merge into the Brahmajyoti. And so different kinds of liberation are there for different people according to what they chanted, how they're chanting. Okay? And then Haridas Thakur then goes on to explain there's different types of chanting. You can see Nam Aparat, Nam Abhas, and Shuddhanam, qualities in chanting. So Nam Aparat, Krishna and his name are different. That is Nam Aparat. You're thinking the name of Krishna is different from Lord Krishna, the person. That's an offense. Or you're thinking the name is material. This is an offense. And what will happen to that? No progress. Right? You're thinking material, you'll stay on the material. If you're thinking it's all material, then you will remain on the material platform. You're not going to progress. Nam Abbas, however, there's some ignorance there and there's some impurity. But still, Nam Abbas, we will be speaking about Nam Abbas. We want to understand, Nam Abbas can be very helpful for us. In fact, Haridas Thakur, when he was challenged by some smarter Brahmin about chanting the holy name, he said, if you chant the name at Nam Abbas, you can be liberated just by chanting at Nam Abbas. Just by a shadow of the name, one can be liberated. Now, of course, for smarter Brahmins, their goal is liberation. And they consider that to get liberation is very difficult. And they will struggle to liberate themselves from the material world. They don't know the power of the holy name. And by chanting the holy name, how we can be liberated. So chanting at Nam Abbas, there's some ignorance there. And there's also some impurities, but generally, chanting at Nam Abbas, we're trying to avoid offenses. We're not deliberately committing any offenses. So, there's some progress there. You can progress. And the Shuddhanam, the chant the pure name, we have to have some knowledge, we have to know about the holy name, and we have to also be pure. Purity is the force, they say. So purity means strictly practicing Krishna consciousness. And by chanting Shuddhanam, then you make a lot of progress and you can go on to prema. Get love of God. It comes by chanting. So we do have to give attention to our chanting. Nam Aparad. Every morning Well, in our centers anyway, every morning, we like to say the 10 offenses in chanting the holy name. It's important for us, not just to know these 10 offenses, but to also be able to avoid the offenses in the chanting. So this is why we say these 10 offenses every morning, because we do spend time in japa. We give a lot of time in the morning to our japa. So we need to know how we can improve the quality of our chanting. So discussion on the offenses is helpful for us to avoid the offenses. Okay? So Shuddhanam, one who chants purely once. Right? Lord Chaitanya was asked, this is actually taken from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And what happened was a devotee came to see Lord Chaitanya, and he told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, I'm in material life. I'm a family man. I'm in material life. How can I make advancement? And so Lord Chaitanya told him, he said, you should chant the holy name and you should serve the Vaishnavas. So then the man asked Lord Chaitanya, how can I recognize who is a Vaishnava? So then Lord Chaitanya replied to him, anyone who chants even one time should consider him a Vaishnava. He's a devotee. Oh, we think, well, that's good, right? Just have to chant one time, I'm a devotee. It's nice. But then Lord Chaitanya said, there's something better. What happened was the man actually came back the next year. And again he came to see Mahaprabhu. And again he asked him, how can I recognize who is a Vaishnava? And that time Lord Chaitanya said, one who chants constantly, purely, he is a Vaishnava. Oh, so the man went away, and he came back a year later again, the third time again. He asked him, how can I recognize a Vaishnava? And that time Lord Chaitanya said, one who inspires others to chant purely, he is a Vaishnava. In other words, simply by seeing him, he inspires other people to chant the holy name. He is a Vaishnava. Now, why did Lord Chaitanya say like that? It seems so, is it contradictory? No. He's making the point that there are different levels in chanting the holy name. Not everyone's chanting is on the same level. Some people have just begun to chant. Other people are chanting regularly, faithfully. And some people are really, really empowered. You know, they're the best, right? Who can chant on that level. Very, very special souls. So we want to understand these things, the different levels of chanting the holy name. So what is the qualification for chanting? Well, anybody, any human being, right? Sorry, we don't let the cats, we don't accept the cats and the dogs, you know. Shivananda saying gave mercy to dogs, but, you know, they don't chant the holy name. Well, maybe Lord Chaitanya could influence the dog, right? The dog would chant for Lord. But generally, our preaching is to the human beings. We want to give the name to the people. We're looking for people to become devotees. And another qualification, faith. We have to believe in what we're doing. We have to take it seriously. So that is Vaishnava. that we have that faith, we have that conviction that what we're doing is something very special, and we really want to make the best, make our best effort trying to do this. And then the place, the time, and the cleanliness are not considered. Any place, any time, any condition. You may not have bathed, okay, you're in a dirty condition. The one devotee I remember, have you ever read, you must have all heard the Bhagavatam. You know, Prabhupada didn't complete the Bhagavatam. It was actually completed by Hridayananda Das Goswami along with Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu. So Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu, he was a very interesting, very amazing devotee. You know, he became a Sanskrit scholar. He did also Brihad Bhagavatamrita. But what happened, how he became a devotee, initially he was like, he had been to a good university there in New York and he studied languages, but somehow he was just lost in the material world. And he was living in the subway of New York and just traveled in the subway. And one day somehow he came to the temple in New York. He came there to the temple and he was dirty and, you know, he was a mess, you know, his clothes were ragged and everything. And so he came there to the temple and the devotees were looking at him, you know, oh, who is this guy, you know. But somehow this other devotee, Jadharani Mataji, she's Prabhupada's first disciple, she saw him there and she spoke to him and she found, you know, she could realize he was actually quite an educated person. And so she brought him into the temple and she brought him in and got him prasadam and they talked to him, you know, and he was interested. You know, he was already a scholarly person. He'd studied languages at university there in New York, and he was very interested. And so he went on. He came initially in that condition. The devotees were going to reject him. But somebody had, you know, this woman, she had deeper vision, and she brought him in and brought him to Krishna consciousness, and he went on to translate books and do wonderful service for Srila Prabhupada. You know, he was the one who went through the whole Bhagavatam, translated it all with Hridayananda Maharaj, the two of them together. And so cleanliness, you know, so we shouldn't just only look at the external. Somebody may be very clean externally, but internally they can be very dirty, very disgusting. So cleanliness, anyway, it's not a qualification. So we want to be merciful and we give everyone a chance to chant the holy name and come to Krishna consciousness. So the place and the time, not very important for us. Any place, any time, you can become Krishna conscious. All right? So you can see the different rules here. This is the final slide here. The primary name, you want to chant the primary name, and we want to chant the pure name, Shuddhanam. Constant chanting. We need association. That's important. Favorable activities. And then finally, avoid unfavorable activities. So yeah, we have to discriminate what is good actions and what are not. We have to know what to do. And then you follow these things, and that will lead us to the goal of life, freedom. So these are the rules. All right? And that will take us into Krishna's pastime, back to God. All right, so this is the first presentation on this Harinam Cintamani. Tomorrow we will go on to speak about Namabhas, the significance of chanting Namabhas. But are there some questions now? Do we have time for questions, Prabhu?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah? Anybody has any questions or comments? Yes, Mataji?
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for this wonderful opportunity. Maharaj, you talked about we have to chant the primary names. You see some sampradayas, they chant Radharani's name, like Shri Radhe. How should we see that?
Well, Srila Prabhupada taught us that the chanting of the names of Srimati Radharani is something very confidential and should not be something for public. In other words, you go, if you're out there in big crowds and people like that, it's not appropriate to chant the name of Srimati Radharani because she's a very confidential personality in Lord Krishna's pastime. So you can see Prabhupada never chanted. Even people would say Radhe Radhe to him, he would say Hare Krishna. Yeah, I mean, he appreciated that people like to chant Radharani, but it's a very confidential thing, not for general mass Sankirtan like that. When we're doing public Sankirtan, Harinam Sankirtan, certainly we don't want to be chanting the names of Srimati Radharani. So Prabhupada was very discreet in using the name of Srimati Radharani. Some devotees, they do like to chant it, they have these chants, want people to say Radhe Radhe, but we never heard this from Srila Prabhupada. Yeah.
Maharaj, I have two questions. First one is you spoke about purity as the force, as Prabhupada said. And then you said purity means actually following the process seriously. So could you elaborate a little bit more about what is the process seriously actually means?
What is the process?
What does it mean to follow the process sincerely?
Well, purity, certainly we have our four regulative principles, which are the foundation of our purity. And so strictly following and strictly adhering to the principles of Krishna consciousness, things like being careful about what we eat, for example. We do want to be cautious about different types of foodstuffs. Sometimes being vegetarian can be a challenge. We want to be careful, try to take things which are cooked by devotees rather than food cooked by non-devotees. So this is one problem for purity. The tongue, we have to be very careful to control the tongue, not to just eat, it's vegetarian, eat it. But you don't know exactly what's there. So purity, we want to be careful in keeping ourselves away from the material energy, the mundane movies and things, watching cinemas and these things are very polluting to the mind. mundane songs, musical songs as well, very polluting to our consciousness. So as much as possible, we try to dissociate ourselves from these things in the material world. We have to be careful. We can get caught up in things like football matches and cricket matches and basketball and these different sports and things. They're very popular for people and they have a lot of attraction. They can attract the mind, people. So we want to avoid these things, and we do want to develop more interest in hearing and chanting Krishna Katha. So that is how we can keep our purity. The more we're eager to hear the Katha in relation to Krishna and to stay away from the topics of the mundane world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Asat Sangha Tyag E Vaishnav Achar, Stri Sangha Ekasadu Krishna Bhakti Ar. Right? Mahaprabhu was asked another time how to recognize a devotee. So he said, Asat Sangha Tyag. He gives up the association of the asat. Asat means that which is not in relation to Krishna. So everything which is not in relation to Krishna, asat sangha tyag, renounce it. Don't get involved with it. Leave it aside. Asat sangha tyag, a Vaishnav achar. This is the behavior of the Vaishnava. And then Stri Sangha Eka Sadhu. Stri Sangha, association with the opposite sex. We have to also be cautious in dealing with the opposite sex. Stri Sangha Eka Sadhu Krishna Bhakti. So that was how Mahaprabhu described. Of course, Mahaprabhu understood people are going to get married, people are going to have children, and when devotees, even when Shivananda Sen's wife was going to have a child, Mahaprabhu said, when the child is born, you give this child the name Puri, Puri Das, right? So Mahaprabhu even named sometimes the children for the devotees. And Prabhupada also, sometimes devotees would come and Prabhupada would. But sometimes Prabhupada would get tired also. He'd say, I'll call her Mary. Okay, yes, Mataji?
Hi Krishna Maharaj. First of all, thank you for being here, coming here to our country and giving us your association. Maharaj, I have a question about surrender. In the beginning slides, you mentioned you want Krishna, surrender to Krishna, and we hear it constantly, surrender to Krishna, surrender to Krishna. But I find it very difficult to, what does it mean in concrete sense, surrender to Krishna? Because when I think of my own self, the I is so big, even in practicing Krishna consciousness, okay, I want my altar to be like this, I want this association, I want this program. But I think...
So, accepting everything favorable for devotional service and rejecting everything which is not favorable for devotional service. That's a big, if you get through these two, that's a big start. You have to know what is favorable for devotional service. No, favorable for devotional service, hearing, chanting, association with devotees. These things very favorable for devotional service. And what is not favorable? Intoxication, gambling, illicit sex, meat eating, these things, not favorable, right? And then we have to know only Krishna can protect us. We take shelter of Lord Krishna. Krishna is the one who's going to protect us. my money is not going to protect me, my job is not going to protect me, my dog is not going to protect me, you know. We depend on Krishna. And then only Krishna is maintaining us. We have to understand that it's not just my job or my hard work which is maintaining us. Ultimately, we're maintained by the grace of Krishna. And then we should have no desire separate from Krishna's desire. So what is Krishna's desire? Well, we have to just understand Krishna has some plan. We don't know what it is yet. One devotee, it was in the 1970s. He was preaching in Delhi. And in Delhi, in those years, it was really difficult in the beginning, you know, in Delhi, 1970s. First of all, we were all foreigners, and we didn't have many Indian devotees. And so nobody could really speak Hindi. And Delhi is really a Hindi town, you know, people, in those days, hardly anybody knew English. So it was difficult for preaching, and nobody wanted to stay there in Delhi. But Prabhupada told this one devotee, he said, you just stay there, he said. And he said, think Krishna has some plan for you. He said, just think Krishna has a plan. So we have to also think like that. Krishna has a plan for us. What is the plan? I don't know. We have to just go ahead and do our hearing and chanting, do our sadhana, and gradually the plan will be unfolded, will be revealed to us. And so how you want your altar and so on, that's not a very big issue. Yeah? Krishna doesn't mind, you know. You want it one way, somebody else wants it another. That's not a big issue. Yeah. We have to just go ahead with our Krishna consciousness. The main thing is hearing and chanting. And then should always be meek and humble. That's also required. So this is the meaning of surrender. We have to put up with the difficulties which come, the inconveniences, the problems which come. We put up with them. We don't get thrown off. We go ahead. We go on with things. Yeah, there will be problems. There will be difficulties. But don't stop hearing and chanting. Remain in Krishna consciousness. Don't go away. Prabhupada would say. Yeah?
I had another question. The last slide, there was mentioned, one of the last slides actually was about cleanliness. You said it was not actually for chanting the holy name, it's not a requirement. But how to see this, Prabhupada said this, cleanliness is next to godliness. How to relate to that?
Yes, well, certainly that's the saying that cleanliness is next to godliness. So if we're going to be godly, then cleanliness is required. And cleanliness is external and internal. So particularly Prabhupada was very particular about cleanliness. You know, every day we would clean Prabhupada's room, top to bottom, you know. And Prabhupada would notice if it was not done. But every day, you know, we'd clean Prabhupada's room and put clean sheets. You know, Prabhupada always had the gadi, the mattress with a sheet on it. We all have to put clean sheets every day, you know, and wash the whole floor and sweep. Everything was so, we kept everything so nice for Prabhupada. And he would notice if it was not. And sometimes Prabhupada would go around and check everything. And one time I remember in Mayapur, the famous incident in Mayapur, Prabhupada was in Mayapur, and in those days we had there was limited accommodation. And where they have those shops along the wall, those were some rooms, you know, and we were staying in those rooms along the wall there. Today they have shops there, but sometimes we were staying in those rooms along the wall. And the toilet facilities, there was a kind of outhouse thing, you know, outside the toilet facility. So Prabhupada, he would come to Mayapur, he'd walk around the grounds, and he came to this toilet facility, and he used his walking stick, he opened the door, and saw the toilet was all dirty, you know, somebody had used it, not flushed, something. And Prabhupada said, "What is this?" You know, so devotees didn't know what to say, you know. And Prabhupada, he quoted his chemistry. Did you all study chemistry? No? Didn't study chemistry? Anyway, basic chemistry equation. I learned it when I was at school. A base plus acid gives salt plus water. You know the equation? Yeah? If you studied basic chemistry, very elementary chemistry, a base, sodium hydroxide plus hydrochloric acid, will give sodium chloride plus H2O, right? This is a chemical equation. So Prabhupada used to be a chemist, you see? So Prabhupada said, base plus acid must be a reaction. That whenever a Brahmana contacts a dirty place, he must clean it. He cannot say, I didn't do it. He has to clean it. He cannot say, I never did it. That Prabhupada, what? No, you couldn't say that to Prabhupada. Yeah, he would be on your case, you know. No way. You have to take responsibility. And so any dirt, you have to clean it. And Prabhupada was very particular about this, especially in places like Mayapur and Vrindavan, where he spent so much money to build temples. So cleanliness, yeah, very important. Prabhupada had very high standards of cleanliness. He wanted everything to be kept very clean and very punctual also. He was very punctual. If the deity worship was not punctual, he would really be on the management. And we're usually pretty good. Most temples, our punctuality is very high standard compared to other temples, you know. But generally we have a good standard of punctuality. But cleanliness, the deity worship, Prabhupada said two things are important: cleanliness and punctuality. You're going to do deity worship, these two things are the basic principles of deity worship: cleanliness and punctuality. So trying to make the offerings at the same time every day. And cleanliness, bathing regularly. Of course, this cold weather is difficult, you know, in this cold weather, you know, but most places usually you have hot water, you have some heating. We have to do as best we can, and Prabhupada's expected even winter time, like in Vrindavan, it can get very cold in the winter, but still devotees would bathe. In Vrindavan, usually there's sunshine every day. So anyway, cleanliness is important externally and internally. And internal cleanliness is by chanting the holy name. Constant chanting of the holy name. So it said even if you cannot bathe, you can bathe in the holy name. Chanting the holy name. So important for us. Try to keep up these standards. Prabhupada, he would take his bath, he'd bring water from the Yamuna, he'd just put the bucket out in the sun, and he'd leave it in the sun for an hour or something, and then take bath. He'd let the sun heat the water. You'd have a hard time to do that here. Okay. Yes.
One more question.
All right. Yes.
This may be a little bit off topic, but well, it's related to chanting the holy name actually.
Uh-huh.
What does envy actually does to chanting the holy name? Envy.
Huh?
Envy.
Envy.
Yes.
Well, envy, this is a quality which is not encouraged, right? Krishna said he appreciated Arjuna because you're not envious. Therefore, I'm speaking this knowledge to you. And similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam says that this Srimad Bhagavatam, for those who have given up envy, how does it, Dharma? Prajitakaita Vautra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam. Nirmatsaranam Satam. They're not envious of others. Therefore, they're able to practice pure devotional service. So envy is certainly a quality of the conditioned soul in the material world. We've come into this world out of desire and envy. We desire to be Krishna and envious of Krishna. Ultimately, we're all envious of Krishna. That's why we're here in the material world. And we do have to learn to give up that envy. It's one of the dirty things in the heart, one of the anarthas, which we have to remove. And that envy is just another ignorance, that we're envious of somebody. Somebody has something I don't. Well, how long will they have it for? Because whatever they have, it's temporary. Or someone has a nice new car. I'm still on my bicycle. I envy them. How long? It's a very temporary thing. Envy is based on ignorance. We're thinking somebody has something more than me. Coming to the platform of knowledge, we can give up envy. And chanting the holy name can take away that envy. Cheto darpana marjanam. Right? We have to clean the heart through the chanting of the holy name. So envy is an obstacle to our progress in Krishna consciousness. We shouldn't envy anyone. Somebody's made some advancement in Krishna consciousness. We should appreciate them. We should think, oh, you have done so nicely for the service of Krishna. And we can request him, please bless me that I could also do something for Krishna. Please give me that. Give me your blessing. One day I can also become a good devotee like you. Okay? Hare Krishna. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Holiness Bhakti Vigna Vinasa Narsimha Maharaj ki
Jai.